Hey everyone, welcome back to Fluency Goals. I'm Mandeep, your certified English communication coach. In this lesson today, we are going to explore some advanced phrases that can help you in expressing opinions or arguments. Now, every day in our work life scenario, in our personal lives, we come across many instances where we have to express what we feel about certain things, and sometimes our opinions can be different from the other people. Now, in this lesson, especially, we are going to focus on ready phrases that are going to help you express your opinions or to express yourself in arguments with sophistication and with nuance. Also, I'll be providing you with examples to use these phrases in sentences. So let's quickly jump into the lesson. The first phrase here is "it stands to reason that." When in an argument or in a discussion, you have given some logical reason and a logical point of view, you can state your conclusion by using this phrase. Suppose you have told your friend that if he doesn't study well in exams, then he is not going to get a good score. So you can conclude this by saying it stands to reason that if you don't study well enough, you are not going to make it through the exams. It stands to reason that a healthy diet will improve your overall well-being. Moving on to the next phrase here, by the same token. By the same token. When you want to introduce a parallel idea or a similar situation, you can introduce your opinion by saying, by the same token, we need to do this. So let's learn its use by using it in example sentences. So you're in a discussion about a healthy mind and healthy body. You have already somebody has introduced the idea that in order to have a healthy body, we need to exercise regularly. But you want to introduce the idea that on the same basis, we need to exercise our minds as well in order to have healthy minds. So you can say, just as we need to exercise our bodies to have a healthy body, by the same token, we need to exercise our minds as well. Let's learn it using another sentence. If you wouldn't want somebody to steal your belongings, by the same token, you shouldn't steal theirs. So that means by the same logic. So here, by the same token means by the same logic. So you can simply just replace it for this phrase by the same logic. The next phrase is, the crux of the matter is. The crux of the matter is. The crux means the conclusion. So when you want to put the whole argument or a point of discussion into a conclusion, you can use this phrase, the crux of the matter is. That means the whole conclusion of this debate or matter or the point is followed by the conclusion. Let's use it in sentence. The crux of the matter is, we need to find a solution that benefits everyone. The crux of the matter is that communication and trust are essential for a successful relationship. Don't forget to use these advanced phrases in sentences of your own and share these sentences with me in the comment section. Okay, moving on to the next one. It would be remiss of me not to mention. So when you want to convey that a certain point should not be overlooked and you want to state its importance in an argument, you can say, it would be a remiss of me not to mention this, that, followed by the point. Let's take a look at some example sentences here. It would be a remiss of me not to mention the risks associated with this project. So in a meeting, you want to mention the risks about a project and you want everybody to realize its importance, the importance of the point that you are putting forth. You can say, it would be a remiss of me not to mention that this project is risky or the risk associated with this project. So another example sentence, it would be a remiss of me not to mention the impact of this decision on our future generations. Moving on to the next one. To all intents and purposes. So you want to say in an argument that something is practically true and it has been proven over a period of time, but officially it may not be considered that. You can say by all intents and purposes. Let's learn its use in sentence here. So, suppose you have done the major work of the project and according to you it is almost complete, but only some minor details are left. So officially the project is not complete. But if you look at it from the practical perspective, you think that the project is over. So you can say something like, to all intents and purposes, the project is completed, although there are few minor details left to address. Let's take a look at another sentence. To all intents and purposes, they are married, although they haven't had a formal ceremony. So if somebody hasn't had formal ceremony of marriage, but they have married in quiet, even then it is true, right? Let's take a look at the next phrase. It is worth noting that. So when you want everybody to pay attention to a particular point, to an important piece of information, you can say it is worth noting that. After that, followed by that piece of information or your point. Let's take a look at examples. It is worth noting that this approach has been successfully used in many other countries. It is worth noting that this product has been made from sustainable materials. The next phrase that we have here is, there is a strong case to be made for. There is a strong case to be made for. When you want to propagate for a certain point of argument or an opinion, you can mention it by saying that there is strong case to be made for, followed by the point of discussion. So whenever there are compelling reasons to support some argument or a point, to advocate it, you can use this phrase to put forth that point. There is a strong case to be made for investing in renewable sources of energy. There is a strong case to be made for reducing plastic waste. Here is the next phrase. What it boils down to is. What it boils down to is. So again, this is a concluding remark when you want to say that all the discussion, all the piece of argument summarizes to this point. You can say what it boils down to is, followed by the conclusion. Suppose you have the whole discussion on fashion choices and you conclude that it is all on personal preference of a person, what to wear, what not to wear. You can say what it boils down to is a matter of personal preference. What it boils down to is making the best decision for yourself and your family. It is a double-edged sword. It is a double-edged sword. Suppose an argument or a point has both its positives and negatives. It has pros and it has cons. You can say that it is a double-edged sword. Like social media, it's a double-edged sword. It can connect us with people all over the world, but it can also cause isolation and anxiety in some people. The growing advancement in AI technology is a double-edged sword. It can help us tremendously, or it can create problems for us by taking over the jobs. From a broader perspective, when you say that you're looking at some problem or some point of discussion from a broader perspective, that means that you are looking from all the aspects of it. And your approach to analyzing that argument is not narrow. From a broader perspective, this decision is going to have far-fetching consequences. From a broader perspective, we need to consider the impact of our actions on our environment. The argument falls flat when you want to indicate a weakness or flaw in a particular argument, that means the argument completely loses its substance because of this one reason. You can say the argument falls flat when we consider this point. Let's take a look at the example sentences. The argument falls flat when you realize that the assumptions that it relies on may not be true. The argument falls flat when you examine the potential consequences of their proposed solution. It's not a question of if, but when. When something is inevitable and it is bound to happen, that means it's not the question of if it is going to happen, but the question is the timing of that event to happen, when it is going to happen. So you can say it's not the question of if, but when. It's not the question of if, but when we'll find a cure for this disease. It's not the question of if, but when will AI take over our jobs? It is an oversimplification to say that. When you want to acknowledge that some particular argument is just looking too simple, but it is not that simple, and it is an inaccurate representation of reality, that means there is something more to it than what you feel is very simple. You can say that it is an oversimplification to say that. It is an oversimplification to say that many politicians are corrupt. It is an oversimplification to say that money can buy happiness, but it can buy many things that bring you happiness. So that's why it is an oversimplification to say this. So that was all about today's lesson. I hope that you'll be using these phrases in sentences of your own, and you'll be sharing those sentences with me here in the comment section. If you have liked this lesson, then please hit that like button so that the algorithm can recommend you more lessons from this channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed to it, then please hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next week with another lesson. Till then, happy learning.